The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have won 4 straight West Finals, and as they enter their 5th consecutive division championship game in 5 straight years, they look to punch their ticket to a 5th straight Grey Cup. And it was not long ago where people thought this Winnipeg Blue Bombers 2024 season was all but lost. Alas, here we are in November, and this Blue Bombers team, thinking back to that 0-4 start, distant memory as they welcome the Saskatchewan Roughriders for the West Final on Saturday afternoon. What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside GameDay Winnipeg, your pregame show live here on YouTube every single week. We're going to the Grey Cup, whether the Bombers are there or not. Fingers crossed that they will be. Chris Walby joins me as he always does. Chris, the feelings that kind of run through your veins, 16 years as a player, nearly 2 decades now as a broadcaster, when you get into this championship season?
It's the best feeling in the world, man. A lot of people think the West Final is like a mini Grey Cup, which it is, because you need to win that one last game to get to the show. And sometimes it's almost, when you're in the Grey Cup, because it's such a week of festivities and media-driven, the West Final is nicer. You don't have a million guys pecking at you all the time, wanting to talk to you all the time. I just think it's the biggest game, and obviously it sounds stupid to say, but it is the biggest game. And I just think that I'm so excited for one thing, and that is I've always loved the Prairie rivalry. I love the fact that you got the Bombers and Sask. And if we went back and said in week 1, and you hit a good thing, 0-4, right? We all thought, wow, could be a crash year for them. And look at the guys they've lost: Dalton Schoen, Adam Biggie, Big Hill, all these guys, key components of their team. They do a good job of putting people in there, and they just fit into the chemistry and the culture of the team. But having said that, this is the biggest game. Both teams are playing extremely well right now. Bombers, as you say, I think they have beat Saskatchewan in the last 8 games in Winnipeg. When I looked at that stat, I had to read it twice. But then again, you know how I am, DB. I don't like stats. Stats are bullshit, right? You know what I'm talking about, man. Because nobody cares about the stats, because tomorrow's a new game. Different players, different offense coordinators, different. It's all different. But I think this is a great game for one reason, and that is Saskatchewan has really come on. They got a running game now, and everybody's blowing I don't want to say blowing, but they're pumping up AJ Ouellette.
Blowing smoke.
Blowing smoke. Thank you, brother. And they got a backup by the name of Quill Armstead, who ran for 200 yards plus against Calgary earlier this year, who's a backup. But AJ played the first game against the Bombers when he had almost 90 yards, and they won that game. The thing about him is he is an extremely, very excellent blocker. He doesn't get enough credit for his blocking abilities, and he's going to have to now that the Riders have lost Reed and had to move Tate from the right tackle to the left tackle and push out Logan Freeland all the way out to the right tackle spot, and he's played center guard, and he's probably, in my opinion, he's going to win the MOP Outstanding Offensive Lineman, and I think he deserves it for how versatile he's been on that O-line. But okay, go, man, because you told me earlier, stop pinballing everything.
Hey, let's leave the pinball in Toronto, right? The Argos will face the Alouettes as the president of that organization, of course, Mike Pinball Clemens. I'm glad you mentioned some of those things, though, Chris, because changes on the Roughriders offensive side of the ball, a couple on the defense too. They're getting a big addition in Anthony Lanier II. Yeah. We're going to get into the details of all of that, as well as, of course, as we always do, take a look at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers depth chart. They're getting a big addition to the back end of the defense. Actually, a couple veterans coming back. We'll talk about Zach Collaros, Brady Oliveira, the West Division MOP and MOC nominee, going up against the best run defense in the CFL in the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We'll look at the depth chart and the injury lists and all those sorts of things. Yeah. We'll talk about the CFL awards and the CFL All-Star teams that were announced just a couple days ago, and the 4 Winnipeg Blue Bombers who were named to that all CFL team. The best player at every single position. Winnipeg took 4 of them. Did they get snagged on a couple? Maybe. We'll get into that. Of course, we'll have Chris Walby's keys to the game and your favorite stories from playoff games gone by. But do want to mention this first and foremost, just to bring this in right off the top. This is a book that is out right now by Winnipeg author Douglas Savage. It's called My New Hero, Memories of the Rink Rats. It is an incredible story of a young boy and his friends. But this young boy goes to a Winnipeg Jets practice ahead of a Jets-Oilers game in the early 1980s. And it turns into a happenstance meeting between him and Wayne Gretzky. They had a 45-minute walk in the Winnipeg winter together. It sparked a lifetime connection between the two individuals. This Winnipegger, Douglas Savage, and the great one, Wayne Gretzky. A true story, an incredible story, told so very well. Christmas is right around the corner, Bluto. This would be a great gift for somebody in your life who loves a great story, hockey, Winnipeg culture, and the great one, of course, Wayne Gretzky. I encourage you guys to check it out. Link is in the video description below, and you can just find it really everywhere. You can see this is the Indigo page, but it's available on Amazon. You get it delivered to your door in like a day or two. It's an awesome read. You're going to enjoy it. My New Hero, Memories of the Rink Rats. Be sure to check it out. Big thanks to Douglas Savage and his team that wrote this book and are supporting us here on Bonfire Sports and GameDay Winnipeg. Let's start with the Blue Bombers depth chart, Chris, because that's probably where people want, their information first and foremost. And while there aren't too many changes on the defense or on the offensive side of the ball, there will be changes on the defensive side as Nick Taylor, two-time Grey Cup champion with the Blue Bombers, will replace Marquise Bridges, the rookie, and line up as a reserve behind Dietrich Nichols, Evan Holm, really, if they need somebody to step in at one of those cover spots. This, to me, is the biggest news right here. Kyrie Wilson, a game time decision, has not played for the majority of the season, Chris. He is very close to playing. I watched him practice this week. He is fully involved. I think this is going to really come down to the wire, but we know how important Kyrie Wilson is to this Blue Bombers defense. That all said, of course, Tony Jones has been outstanding. We know what 𝘎𝙤𝙧𝙯𝙚 can bring. Michael Ayers to special teams and in coverage as well. Interesting to see Brian Cole come out. Maybe Brian Cole coming out is a little bit of an indication of whether we're going to see Kyrie Wilson or not.
Yeah, that surprised me. I tell you, there's a couple things. I mean, obviously you want veterans who've been there before. The experience factor, you can't replace experience. That's the thing, especially in big games like this. So Kyrie Wilson, but I also said this before. He came back and tried to go about a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it pregame on our show, and he couldn't go. Now, I know he was hitting the sled this week, and I know he was pushing his leg as best he can. Evidently, he's okay. They want him to try, but I like Brian Cole. I thought Brian Cole is a guy that's really made a number of huge plays especially on special teams. I think you lose something there, but I don't know. And again, it's a trade-off, right? Brian Cole, young, exuberant, right down. He's a wedge buster on return, kickoff coverage. But then you get the veteran savvy of Kyrie Wilson. And we talked about this over the years, how many times we said that Kyrie is probably the most underrated weak side linebacker. So I think that it's a good move for them. And obviously with Kyrie and the other guy that's going to play with, I believe, a bit of a cast is Brandon Alexander. Another veteran. You can't beat that at safety. He used to be a headhunter. He used to be one of the toughest, safeties in the league. He'd make receivers look when they came across the middle. I don't know if he's got that same tenacity as he did before. But again, it's the veteran presence, the ability to communicate. And then you mentioned something I thought really important. Nick Taylor, you know what? He's got great wheels. Obviously, would not have brought him back in. He played with Calgary last year a little bit. I mentioned member of 2 Grey Cup teams with the Bombers and had a great spot to go behind Nichols and Holm in case of anything happening to those 2 starters. Right. You get experience. And there's that word again, experience. So to me, I think it's a great move. The Bombers are probably as healthy as they've ever been. Let's just go there, right?
Yeah. Outside of the guys that they are without, Dalton Schoen, Drew Wolitarsky, Chris Streveler, Adam Bighill, Cameron Lawson, most of those guys outside of Strevler and Wolodarski have missed the majority of the season. But hey, you're right. Jamal Parker too on the back end, defensive back. Yeah. But you're right. As far as the situation throughout the length of this season, they are in the best shape you could really hope for, maybe outside of Drew Wolodarski, but I think they're going to be okay. I know you're a huge fan of Kevin Sklercius and what he's brought in an outstanding rookie season.
I think he's done really well fitting that spot. It's obviously hard to fill the shoes of a Wolodarski, who's such a veteran savvy, not the quickest, but finds the openings and has a great rapport with Zach Collaros. I just think that when you're looking at guys like that, and then you look at Ontario Wilson, what a breakout year he had as a rookie. I mean, obviously, Carrick, Wheatfall, they got some good guys out there. They got some receivers. I'm not even talking about Kenny Lawler right now. And the weirdest thing about that is you're going against a defense that leads the league in turnovers. They are ball hawks back there, led by Roland Milligan Jr., who not only has 70 tackles and 8 interceptions to lead the league, he's also got 20 special teams. This is a guy that doesn't basically get off the field. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm surprised he's not playing receiver. He could go all over. But, yeah, I mean, to me, that's your front runner for a defensive player. He'll be your MOP for defensive player. But I love the matchup. And I know we'll get into the run and all that other stuff right now, but
let's get into it now. What's it going to take for the league's leading rusher in Brady Oliveira, bully ball, as we know Winnipeg can do so well in the second half, versus the number one run defense in the CFL in the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who not only just allowed 80 yards per game roughly on average all season, but they're getting a boost to that defense with Anthony Lanier II coming in as their designated American.
I think they're taking a page out of the Toronto D-line. When we played Toronto and Toronto had all that pressure on us, and they sacked a number of times, 7, I believe. They're dressing 8 defensive linemen. What does that tell me? They want everybody in there fresh. Rotate, get in there, eliminate the run game. But people don't understand one thing about that. If you look at what Brady O has done, I'm talking about Brady Oliveira, it's his receiving ability. They take away the run. He still had 19 catches against these guys because their linebackers get depth so quickly that just to check off. And, Zach just looks down and gets rid of the football, and usually Brady will pick it up at 9-10 yards every time. So it's a tough decision. They're going to have to play a lot tighter on Brady when he comes out of the backfield. But, yeah, the battle is going to be in the trenches. And I think that they've lost Trevon Tate, the starting left tackle who played all year for them and got rolled up last game against BC. Anytime you mix up that O-line and move guys all over, you're going to probably get a couple breakdowns that could work well for the Bomber defense.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's going to, everybody's talking about Brady Oliveira versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders defense. That'll be important. I think the short pass game, that check down game, whether it's a 1 yard or a 2 yard pass downfield, play action, and then that check down game is essentially, in today's CFL, that is the run game. We saw it with Paul Appolise and Andrew Harris here in those championship years of 2019 and 2021. And we've seen that continue with Buck Pierce and Brady Oliveira and this version of the Blue Bombers offense. But it's not just here in Winnipeg. We've seen that everywhere in the CFL. That's the evolution of this 3-down game, 12 on 12, and the running back being a receiver and that short passing game essentially being the run game. So I don't know about you. I don't read too much into the 45 yards against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 52 yards rushing against the Saskatchewan Roughriders for Brady Oliveira in their 3 previous matchups in the regular season, because they're not adding in. They're just looking at it one-dimensionally, and I think that's a little bit foolhardy. The run game is that short pass game.
Listen, he's a bowling ball to bring down, and I know they talk bully ball when he runs the football. The thing I like is they don't go away from the run. You may get stuffed 4 or 5 times, but he'll find an opening and bust one for 20, 30 yards. I mean, what's he got? He got, I believe, 20-plus rushes over 10 yards. He's got 11 over 30-plus yards. He's way above any other running back that's done this. You know what? If you go to a website, and I've been watching the Saskatchewan website and their team site all week, listening to how, and they all know. They all talk. It is not. They're not. Nobody's putting any poster stuff or getting anybody upset by throwing down the gauntlet and saying, "Oh, we'll kill this guy." It's all beautiful bulletin board stuff. We love you, Brady. Oh, we know you're great. Zach, you're fantastic. You guys have got a good team. We're just happy to be there. Nobody's giving you any of that bulletin board garbage to get them fired up. And I agree with you. The fact is Brady can do it through the run game and the pass game, but you must run the football if you want to run play action pass. That's the only way you get your linebackers to suck up to that line of scrimmage and get the ball behind them. And that's what they have to do. Again, it's going to come down to the pit. I say that every week. The pit is where it's going to be won and lost. I think it's interesting that Saskatchewan is dressing 8 guys. I think a big addition is Anthony Lanier II. But they love this guy, 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙨 Sanders, who sacked Vernon Adams last week against BC. And they're just saying this guy has got a motor. And, of course, I'm excited to watch this because I think we still have one of the best, if not the best, O-lines in the CFL. Stanley Bryant, who's got his 8th CFL All-Canadian, All-CFL, what do they call it now? Leads the way with these guys. I just think they'd have a good offense, and if they can get their plays, and Buck Pierce will be such an integral part of this, to mix it up. Open, I think somebody said this. It might even be near Glenn Bauming. Time and open the playbook. Exactly. There's no sense. Go right to the end. You know what? Go to page 26. Use whatever you can find. You don't have to stay with the same because this is one and done, right? This is one and done, baby. And it's a great feeling when you win, and it sucks like hell when you lose. Because next day is garbage day where you get your garbage bag and you say goodbye. And you know what? We used to say, look around. Look around, buddy. Take a look at your teammates because they won't be here next year. There's always change. Always change. So if this is your
I don't even know if you and I want to have that conversation of what would happen if Winnipeg didn't get to the Grey Cup and didn't come out of this Western final with a win.
It's going to be a close game, buddy. I'm telling you what. It's
the
not
future of the team and so many of the veterans on this team. And Kyle Walters, Mike O'Shea, Wade Miller, they've done an incredible job, not just in getting to 4 straight Grey Cups, but keeping this roster together. That, of course, being a huge, huge part of it.
Yes. Nucleus.
Chris, yeah. I was just going to say, it was just a couple weeks ago where you and I were talking about a new revamped offensive line needing a couple months to gel and to get used to each other and all those sorts of things. And then came the Toronto Argonauts and the Blue Bombers losing for the first time in 9 games. They had 8 straight wins and lost the 9th to the Argos, where the best pass rush in the CFL absolutely dominated Winnipeg. And I think that conversation got thrown into the trash, maybe foolhardily. And I say that because there are 2 sides to the football, right? Winnipeg can play well and get beat. I think Toronto's pass rush is just that incredibly good. We saw it against the Ottawa Red Blacks last week in the Eastern semifinal. We saw it against Winnipeg. We've seen it from them all year. They got like a half a dozen guys with like 5 sacks, 6 sacks. It's crazy how deep they are and how effective they are and just the things that they do. But suddenly they exert themselves upon the Blue Bombers a couple weeks ago, and everybody's like, well, Winnipeg's offensive line isn't that good. I'm with you. I think they are very good. Eric Lofton and Liam Dobson and those guys settling into their roles, getting more comfortable game to game. Zach Collaros getting more comfortable game to game in front of those guys.
Why does everybody jump on that guy? He's threw for over 4,000 yards. You know what they look at? They look at his interceptions. Yeah, he had he only threw for 17 touchdowns. He's got 15 or whatever interceptions. Not a real great, Zach year, but still throws the ball 4,000 yards. Still hits people on the dime. You know what? But people are like that. There's so many people breaking ankles, jumping off and on the bandwagon. I think you just got to stay with what you believe. This is not a bad team. This is a very good team. They wouldn't be in the West Final if they weren't any good. Yeah. And the fact they wouldn't have, I know we're talking about God coming down with that big wind and, obviously the punt that got the crappy punt by, was it Montreal? I believe it was Montreal. Yeah. And that led to the field goal opportunity. But you got to be good to be lucky to be good. And it just happens at the right time. The Bombers seem like, even when they're down, They're never really out of the game. And that is why they are a championship team. So I think it's going to be I'm looking forward. I know that I've talked to a couple radio stations in Saskatchewan. Obviously, they're pulling for the Riders, and they think the Riders can do it. The last second, hey, you know this is a crazy stat too. The last second place team in a final to win a Grey Cup was in 2013. It was Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. So, and it's like they say, anybody ever watch that movie, Any Given Sunday? That's what it's about, brother. Even though it's a Saturday game, anything can happen. You're going against a ball hawk defense, and you're going against the guy that I don't think gets as much credit as he should in Saskatchewan. That's Trevor Harris. I thought he is not throwing up gaudy numbers, but he's just managing the game so well.
Yes.
Not making mistakes, not turning the ball over. And that's what's going to happen. He who turns the ball over least will win this game tomorrow. I really believe turnovers are going to be such a key, and they are every game. And they're saying there might be a little precipitation tomorrow night. That even makes it more, of a question.
Slippery
holding
footballs.
on to the football, right? Is that going to mean that 𝘎𝙥𝙤𝙧𝙨 gets more touches? I don't know. But if I'm looking at, I'm just looking at this matchup, and 10-8 versus 11 and whatever. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. You just can't, guys. I mean, this is not the same as us playing BC. I don't care. I know the Grey Cup's in BC. It's just not the same. It's not as Winnipeg playing Calgary. You get jacked out of your jumpers when you're playing the Riders. And that's what gets me, because we've had rivalry in all my 16 years that I played. It was always the Riders. We hated the Riders. And there's that rivalry. And I think it's the best rivalry in the CFL. I don't care about
100%.
Toronto, Hamilton, and all that garbage, or the Edmonton, or Calgary.
The torch has been passed from the Saskatchewan Roughriders to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as the premier franchise in the CFL. It was Edmonton for a long time. It was Saskatchewan then for a good stretch of years. It's most definitely Winnipeg now. Yeah. This is their fifth sellout this season. They have a chance to go to a fifth straight Grey Cup. They rock attendance numbers out of the park compared to the rest of the league. The Saskatchewan Roughriders sold out one game this year. One game. Yeah. Guess which one? Yeah, the one where the Blue Bombers came to town on Labor Day. I agree with this guy who's got the best name in the business. His first name, Glenn. Probably the best rivalry. I think it's definitely the best rivalry in the CFL. I would even say in Canadian sports.
This is one of those games that if you're not there, you better be tuned to the TV, because I think both games are going to be fantastic. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Toronto-Montreal game, but I really believe, and maybe that's because we're from Winnipeg and I played for Winnipeg, and, you're a Winnipeg boy and you love them too. I just think that I love the matchup, because to me, it's like flip a coin. I hate to say it. Now, I do believe the crowd is going to be a huge factor. It always is. That's why you want home field. And I know they've been piping up music in Saskatchewan, trying to resemble what they're going to hear here. I said to the guys in the radio that I hope that Saskatchewan introduces their defense, because I want Miles Brown to come run on that field and hear what the crowd does to him, right? Because I think there's one thing that scares me about the Bombers. It's a team that doesn't have Chris Streveler. I think Streveler is such an important part on third down or second and short or whatever. I don't think you get the same push with a Terry Wilson. I'm sorry. I just don't. That's apples and oranges to me. I really believe that Chris Streveler is an X factor when he's in the short yardage.
No question.
And so that to me is one little. I look at that tweak there, right? That's going to be interesting. So, but other than that, you're looking at your team here. I mean, like you just mentioned, 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙨 is having a great year. You got new guys, 3 new guys in Wheatfall and Ontario Wilson. These guys have really stepped up. I mean, what Kenny Lawler will come up with at least one freaky catch tomorrow.
Yep.
It's just that he's a freak, man.
And it's been Ontario Wilson who's been the team's leading receiver for a lot of games this year, especially down the stretch, right?
Yeah. Well, and he finds openings. And again, you're Saskatchewan, you better keep Zach in the pocket, because Zach likes to roll. He loves to get
running.
out there.
He's been running like crazy lately.
Well, he has to probably sometimes. But you know what? I love the fact that he just makes things happen by holding on the ball. He extends plays. I thought, mind you, there's another guy that I think that's really coming to his own and done that as Chad Kelly. I can't believe Chad Kelly when I watched him play. I mean, the guy should be sacked 52 times. He's like a greased wheel. He gets out there and throws a ball right on the money. But anyway, I just think that the Zach, and I want people to understand something about Zach. Zach's a first-round Hall of Famer. He's going to go down as one of the best ever. He's going to be probably in the Ring of Honor in the Bombers, along Stanley Bryant. So I mean, just get excited for this, because I tell you what, right now, man, I'm jacked, and I don't usually get jacked over a game. I know sometimes I talk about games, I get excited, but this is scary good, and I mean that because, man, I just don't know. I think the Bombers will win. I really do. But, boy, I tell you what, I look at that defense, and if they start hawking the ball on us, God dang, it's going to be ugly. I don't know. But you got a beautiful day, because you want people coming here playing in the snow, in the cold, in the wind.
Yeah. Home field advantage.
Beautiful weather.
Right? Yeah.
It's suntown weather, baby. You know what? Brad Foddy, the equipment guy, he'll be wearing shorts for sure. I can predict that right now. Anyway.
Home field advantage is most definitely something that cannot be ignored. The Blue Bombers all time at home in the playoffs are 43, 19, and 2. I don't know where the 2 comes from. These are numbers from the CFL game notes. I don't know how you have a tie in the playoffs, but 43, 19, and 2, that's a .688 winning percentage. Nearly 70% of the time they've won at home. On the road, well, Saskatchewan is 21, 35, and 1 in the postseason as the visiting team in the playoffs. That's a .377 win percentage. 38% of the time they've found a way to win on the road. Since 1972, Chris, the Western Final host has won 60% of the games, 30 and 20 since 1972. And Winnipeg hosted Saskatchewan in a single game Western Final twice, with each team winning once. So the history between these teams goes beyond the rivalry and the hatred and the fun between the fan bases and all those sorts of things. This is my question for you before we get into your keys to the game and look at the CFL All-Stars and that sort of thing. Has Zach Collaros done enough in your mind to help this team win in the playoffs? And I know they've had incredible success. They haven't lost a playoff game outside of Grey Cups, those last 2 Grey Cups, with Zach Collaros as the starting quarterback. But his numbers have not been sterling. His yardage and his efficiency and all those sorts of things, they have not been good. 2019, 2021, 22, and 23. He has not been a killer in the postseason. Do they need him to be?
I think he has to be efficient. That's what I think. I mean, I think that he went through a bit of a funk in the middle of the season where he's throwing more interceptions and stuff like that. I think he's gotten better as the season progressed. I think he's probably playing as good as he should be right now. But then you look at the stats. The 2 games that Trevor Harris played for, he threw for almost 600 yards. 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Zach was 2-2. I just think that Zach is playing where he needs to be at this time to get us over the hump, and that is the Saskatchewan hump. I don't see Zach. If they don't get pressure on Zach, and Zach can start, mixing up and spreading the footballs around is going to be key. I mean, I know he likes to go deep, and Dembski is a Saskatchewan killer. We talk about this every game. Every time they play Saskatchewan, Dembski comes up with one freaking gets wide open.
Well, they let him walk in free agency after they drafted him in the first round.
Every time. And think about it, this is a guy that started in Saskatchewan. And talking to the Saskatchewan radio guys, they're all like, there's 2 guys we hated losing. Pat Neufeld and Nick Dembski. Mm-hmm. Both perennial all-stars. And I agree with you. I think that's both of them have been studs. But, I tell you, whoo, baby. And if you look at the kicking game, I'll just throw the kicking game in there now because we don't really talk about that much. Brent Lother, 83%, Longa 55. Sergio, 80%, 51 of 64. He's got 11 of 16 over 50. It's funny that both these kickers have had trouble between the 40 and 50. Both of these guys it's really weird about that. But I don't see much difference. I mean, they got a 47-yard punt average. We got a 45. It's going to come down to coverage again. Mike Mueller better get those guys covered because you got Mario Alford, who's taking a kickoff return for a touchdown already. And it's a game of field position. You must win the field position. I don't know if wind's going to be a factor. I didn't look at the weather so much to see if the wind's going to play a factor in this. But you never know, Winnipeg, right? One day it's, 1 second it's beautiful, and next you got a big wind.
Yeah.
But the Bombers are going to have to dot all their I's, cross all their T's to beat this team. And I think they will, but I anticipate a freaking slobber knocker. I really do think it's going to be a slobber knocker.
Absolutely. No question. It's going to be an old-fashioned boondoggle. A battle.
Boondoggle.
Yeah, a little boondoggle. A little Donnybrook, Little Donnybrook. It's kind of like me and you at your Christmas party last year.
That's right. When I tried to get you tarps off. Tarps off. All right. And
if you're going to go tarps off, there's no better look in the world than tarps off, bonfire hat on. Your bonfire hat is available at 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙨. You go to BonfireSports.ca/hat. I got the link right there. Links in the video description below. I want to make sure you guys can see that anyway. BonfireSports.ca/hat. And you can order your hat. You can pick it up. It's on Trottier Bay. That's off of Chevrier, off of Pembina Highway. Look, if you're headed to the West Final, you can pop in there until 3:30 on Saturday. 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙨 is open. There's links to everything in the video description below. I'll be sure to tweet it out and so you guys can know all of that. But if you go to BonfireSports.ca/hat, you can get your official Bonfire Winnipeg hat. It is so comfy. It's a flex fit with the elastic closure on the back.
Yeah.
You will want to wear it all the time. Hey?
And I know guys like my buddy Stan Mikwas, who's basically got a pumpkin head. It even fits him. He tried it on, and that's a good thing for him because most of the time, Stan was really popular at Thanksgiving because I just stuck a candle in his mouth. But, he's just got a pumpkin head. And he loves me giving him a little shot. But
I like that.
Yeah, I think that Mikwas is – you know what? Here's a weird thing, DB. I'm off track, but it's a good off track.
What do you got?
I was going to the game. I'm excited. My son phones me, puts my grandkid on the phone, Levi, who's just turned 8 or 7. I can't remember, 7, I think. And he goes, Big Papa, we haven't gone to a game this year. I go, oh, yeah. Can we go? Well, guess where my tickets went? So he's taking the whole family to the game, which means I will be stuck to the tube watching it while you're at the game doing your OB little hit, you and Dougie Brown.
Well, I got to do the Jets game too.
You doing the Jets too?
Yeah, I'm going to do the Jets game, and then I'm going to race.
You know what you should do? You should get a shirt with a big dollar sign on it. Ka-ching! You big monkey.
I got to. Hey, you might have given me your flight to Vancouver for the Grey Cup, but you're making me pay you for it. How am I supposed to afford that? I got to work the Jets.
Listen, Vancouver will put on a show.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's good. They're going to really. The owner has done remarkable things there. They are really, they're really doing a nice job. And then we got Bombers next year, Grey Cup here, and then Calgary.
Yeah.
So again, but next year, let's not worry about next year. Let's worry about tomorrow and getting through this game. We talked a lot about the offense. We talked a lot about the special teams. I just want to throw one thing here. Willie Jefferson. How big a factor is that man going to be? He got 10 pass knockdowns, which is really wild because he's all surrounded by DBs. He's got a forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 6 sacks. He just is the main disruptor. And as an offense coordinator, you're like, what am I going to do? I got to get rid of this guy. I got to keep him out. So Mark Mueller, the offense coordinator for Saskatchewan, has got his work cut out. They've only dressed one backup O-lineman, which surprises me because of the fact that if they lose one guy, they're basically shortchanged. And you know who the backup O-lineman is for them? Miles Brown. Wouldn't that be something? Him at right guard getting run over and the quarterback gets hurt. Oh, my God. Miles for miles. But anyway, okay. I told you, man, I've been jacked about this.
You're in playoff form,
really
baby.
Jacked about this game,
You're in playoff form. I love it.
I love it, man.
Yeah. I just got to say, your Bonfire hat looks like it's definitely got its work in.
Yeah. You know what? My kid stole this one. I have the new one in the car. I finally got it back off him. And as you said, they're so comfortable. You know, I just like it. They fit. When a hat fits, you want to wear it. You know, I've got some hats that sit so high on my head. You know, I feel like Kazoo from the Flintstones. It doesn't sit right, you know?
Kazoo.
That's nice. Yeah. But you know what you need? I still think sweatshirt, big sweatshirt. I like that. That'd be nice, man.
We got some stuff. We got some stuff coming.
Christmas is only 6 weeks away.
You know, because of course we're going to get into hockey season soon enough, but 𝘎𝙤𝙤, ZUEIKE.com, and BonfireSports.ca/hat. That'll take you to 𝘎𝙤𝙤's website. Maybe t-shirts, maybe sweatshirts, maybe a little Jets coloration. What do you think of that? We get that to focus.
That's nice, actually. Yeah. B for Bluto. Right on.
That's right. B for Bluto.
Yeah.
Before we get into your keys to the game, Chris, because we know we need those to get people set for the West Final between the Bombers and the Roughriders. And by the way, hit that thumbs up if you haven't yet. Consider subscribing. We'd appreciate that. Share it with a friend. You know, this is going to be good listening all the way up to kickoff, halftime, even after the game. You can get Chris Walby's perspective. So share that with your friends as well. But and I've got a pair of tickets for the game. I forgot to mention that. I got a pair of tickets for the game. We're going to give those away in just a second as well. But before we do that, oh yeah, Lower Bowl got a pair of tickets. Thanks to the CFL for sending me those. Sold out games, so this is the only way you can go right now. Let's talk about the 2024 CFL All-Stars. And this is all Canadian, meaning this isn't the West Division or the East Division. This is the best players at every single position in the CFL as voted by the Football Reporters of Canada and the head coaches of all 9 CFL teams. Willie Jefferson and Lorenzo Mauldin IV will be the defensive ends. It's Willie Jefferson's sixth CFL All-Star nod. Mauldin, an absolute mauler on the defensive line, leads the CFL in sacks again this season. And then Jake Ceresna and Micah Johnson. Ceresna of Toronto, of course, he was with the Edmonton Elks for a long time, signed the big free agent deal. Micah Johnson with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, leading the way on the defensive line. Chris, your thoughts on these 4 individuals as we go through the 2024 CFL All-Stars?
Well, you know what? I read something today that's a little bit of a pet peeve for me, and that is that, you know, you guys, I don't know how many guys get to vote. And then the coaches get a vote. And then they take a small sampling of fans. And I know the fans aren't going to be happy here, but I'd like to have a separate CFL fan all-star team and not have an impact, because obviously you're going to get people that are obviously going to be.
I don't know if you're right about that.
I don't know. I thought I read that. And if I'm wrong, I hope somebody gives me a head slap. But that's what I read, man. And it said a small percentage of fan, whatever. So I just don't like that being integrated. I think I don't think it is. It just becomes too personal. I mean, I'm going to vote for all my whoever's playing in my team. So
what do you think about? What do you think about Willie J, Lorenzo Mauldin, Jake Ceresna, Micah Johnson?
Did you hear about this one? And I'm sure as I talk about this now, obviously Lucius Purifoy, who you really like, led all safeties in stats, even though he was behind in the professional. What is that PFF one? It's called Professional Football.
Pro Football Focus.
Okay, so anyway, they rated the top safety as the guy from Hamilton. And then second, it was Purifoy. And third was Marc-Antoine Duquet. And he won the CFL, and Purifoy is just fuming right now because he was overlooked. And he figures so now he was, on all kind of Twitter and Facebook. And,
but you know what? You know what, though, Chris? And I'll advise people, if you want to know more about the Pro Football Focus rankings that are featured on CFL.ca, we had Brian Vesnaver on our post-game show following the Bombers' last game of the regular season, week 21 against Montreal. You can find that Game Day After Dark episode. And right off the top, Brian joins us. He's the lead on Canadian football content on Pro Football Focus, pff.com. And he talked about all of those things that go into his rankings and all of that. Yeah. And that, he plain and simple said it. It's just a perspective on it. It is nothing directly related or corresponding to, the best players in the league or all-stars or all of that. So if Loucheiz Purifoy thinks that PFF is the reason why he wasn't voted the league all-star, he's mistaken.
Well, DB, he was also looking at stats. He had excellent stats, compared to the Montreal safety. But having said that, it is a voters game, and there's a lot of guys who feel probably overlooked. And that's the way it is. It's unfortunate, man. That's one of those things where you say to yourself, oh my God, it's really hard to break in to a guy that's been a perennial all-star. You have to do something really special to knock him off that perch.
And you know what?
Look at Willie, 6 sacks. But he is such a disruptor. You can't look at stats. You got to look at
top
overall
5
play.
in knockdowns, and he's a D lineman. Everyone, it's all
There's
DBs
a lot of other
things,
a lot of intangibles, right?
Yeah.
Probably the hardest one to vote is O-line, because of the fact that you have to go to the O-line coach and say, okay, who is grading well? Who is the best?
Sure.
Because I'm looking at that, and Stanley got it, and rightly so. And then I'm looking at guys like Patty Newfield, but Patty missed a few games. So did Stanley. And obviously, you're looking at Eric. No, he had a little struggle at the beginning. Liam Dobson, I think, is going to be a very good football player. Chris Konakowski had a little struggle at that center position. So it's the best of what you have, and that's no knock on Stanley, because Stanley is the best ever. I really do believe that. I think that he's the top O lineman. I mean, his stats speak for himself. But it's a tough game. All-stars it can be finicky at times. You think you got it, but you don't.
I think they did a great job.
To talk to the media. How many guys used to go and talk to media guys just so you could get your name out there? Hey, I'm DB, buddy. Hey, how you guys doing? I'm a funny guy. I like to talk to the media. And all of a sudden the media goes, that DB guy, he's not bad, but he's in my head already now. You know what I mean? You put your mark in me.
Everybody kind of handles all that psychology differently, right? And whether they're comfortable talking to media or not. But overall, I think, I am among the voters, 5 here in Winnipeg, including Mike O'Shea. And then there's some national voters as well. But I think overall, they did a pretty good job. Bo Levi Mitchell on a non-playoff team, I still think he was deserving of being the All-CFL quarterback. Absolutely. Brady Oliveira, no-brainer. Justin McInnes, Canadian, absolutely number one receiver this year with Justin Hardy, Reggie Begelton, Geno Lewis, Tim White. Okay.
You know what? It's funny. At the beginning, I actually thought that it depends who come out of the East, but I thought Brady was going to be a walk for both of them. Oh, you're talking MOP? Yeah, I think it's still going to be tough because Bo Levi on a crappy team still set a record. It hasn't, it's since 2003, yards, touchdowns, and all these things. So this is where a crappy team sometimes influences the voter and you don't get it. I was actually surprised, but not surprised. Happy for Bo, because Bo probably has some years ahead of him now. His career is reborn. He is like the, what do you call it, Phoenix rising out of the dust, right?
Oh, poetic.
I like that. But anyway, I still think that Brady has a great opportunity to come out with both of them. He'll get Canadian. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to get Canadian. But I think that the MOP at least is going to be tight because the Eastern voters are a little whack too, man. I'm going to tell you right now. No offense. They want to complain to me. They can get me a 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙚. They can call there.
Well,
swear jar for Bluto. There you go, buddy. Yeah, you know what? I've been pretty good today.
Yeah,
I've been pretty good.
Will. He's got it. You jumped from All-Stars to MOP, so I don't know what direction you want to go with those, but I think we talked about the awards last week, so people can go check that out on the YouTube channel. But for CFL All-Star overall, Chris, I think they did a very good job. I mentioned the quarterback, running back, receivers. David Beard, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, as the center. Logan Furland of the Roughriders, Ryan Hunter of the Argos at guard, Stanley Bryant, of course, of the Bombers, getting his 8th of his career at tackle. Deion Allen of the Toronto Argonauts, definitely one of the top tackles, if not the top tackle in the CFL today. He's probably going to come home with, it's him and Furland for most outstanding offensive lineman this year. Tyrese Beverett, incredible guy, like incredible talent. Nick Anderson, over 100 tackles and like 140 defensive plays overall in his rookie season. I'm thinking he's a shoe-in for most outstanding rookie in the CFL this year. CJ Rivas is the dime back or the strong side linebacker of the Roughriders, deserving of that spot. I think Winnipeg's Reddick Ramsey will begin to enter that conversation in the coming years. It's been tough for him. Tyrell Ford of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, first year starter, second year in the CFL, third year in pro football after a year trying the NFL, is the all CFL corner, along with our old friend Marcus Sales of the Roughriders. He had a real resurgence year with the Roughriders. Roland Milligan, you talked about Chris. Damon Webb, if you remember Winnipeg losing to the Ottawa Red Blacks early this season, it was Damon Webb who knocked the ball down at the goal line on a quick out route from Zach Collaros to a then healthy and playing Dalton Schoen. Damon Webb, for my money, maybe the best DB in the CFL today. And then your all CFL special teamers, Sean White. I was surprised Sean White got this and not Rene Paredes. Jake Julian, easily the best punter in the CFL today. Janarian Grant set records in his first year in double blue with the Argos. So overall, I think they did a pretty good job in all those.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. You can't argue with the things. It's a tough choice. Like I said, when I worked for CBC and I had to vote, it was very difficult at times. Because I'd pick one and I go, oh God, I forgot about this guy. I go back and I go, I start watching film on this guy, and it's just one of those things where you want to make everybody happy. That's what I loved when I had that show, Walby Warriors. I loved that. We started off with T-shirts, and I told a story, and then at the end we had sponsors, and we gave away trucks, like brand new vehicles, and that's crazy.
Whoa!
So that just tells you how the show grew and had a little credence to it, right? They actually believed in what we were doing. And Stanley Bryan, 8 CFL All-Stars, buddy. You got to catch me. I got one more. I got 9.
Well, he's talking about it on BlueBombers.com this week. Maybe he'll come back.
Oh, he'll come back. He's got 4 CFL outstanding players, so he's done. He's just good. I like to mess with the guy. He's like Barry White. Hey, how you doing? It's all good. Hey, he's just got that voice, eh?
It's that North Carolina.
Oh, he's good, man. I don't know Stanley good, but I really do respect him as a player. I think I talked to him the one time. The one time I saw him was when I got roasted at Bob Mully. And they all went, "You're nuts." They just said, "You're nuts." I said, "Yep. Too many hits in the head, brother." Uh-oh.
What happened?
I'm just getting ready for my keys, man.
Before we get into your keys to the game, because everybody out there, I need you to know that like as soon as Chris joined the live stream here, before we went live to all of you, he said, "Let's go, DB. I got places to be. I got things to do. I got people to see. I got people to do, and I got things to see. So we got to get out of here as soon as we're done." Okay, so we will get to your keys to the game in just a second, but we got a pair of tickets to give away to this game.
Oh, that's right.
So what do you do if you want to win these tickets? Well, first of all, you need to be subscribed on YouTube. You need to follow us on all of your social medias. So that's at Bonfire WPG, Bonfire WPG on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us really everywhere. Be sure you're subscribed and following all of those, and then email me. Here's the email address, Winnipeg@BonfireSports.ca. It's that simple. Winnipeg@BonfireSports.ca. Email me your full name and your phone number so I can text you, and give me 3 emojis Or, if you can't figure out the emojis, just like write a little poetic sentence or two about, the Blue Bombers, the 2024 season, and them getting to the Grey Cup. But if you can, I want 3 emojis. Okay. Your favorite 3 emojis that tell the story of the Blue Bombers season or the playoffs or whatever it is. And you're going to email Winnipeg at BonfireSports.ca.
There's the ugly 3 right there. Look at that claw. Baron von Raschke.
Love that.
For all you wrestling freaks out there.
Yeah. See, Jets Girl's already getting in on it. She's got chop chop. Right? So get creative and email.
We need the Bombers to win. We need the Bombers to win for another reason. I've got to create one more song.
You want another song from Tristan Rivers?
Yeah, I got to do another song for the Grey Cup. But I will do that as you go on your trip across to the West. Mm-hmm. And I sit here in my shallow house saying, I hope DB's having a good time with the party. Oh,
it's going to be a party, boy. It's going to be a party. I can't wait.
I know.
I can't wait. Chris, your keys to the game for one final home game time this year. Hopefully we'll do it again in a week in Vancouver, but critical for the Blue Bombers to accomplish Saturday night to punch their ticket to a 5th straight Grey Cup.
Well, I think first off, overall, the Bombers have to win the turnover battle. On offense, I think Buck Pierce has to call a game of his life. You got to execute at a high level. They need some consistency, and you got to get rhythm, good first down production. And again, protect the football. I can't even emphasize that. Protect the football. You can't give any opportunity to the visiting team, these Riders. On defense, you got to make Trevor Harris uncomfortable. He's just doing an excellent job of managing that football right now. Don't allow to get him into a rhythm. And I always say this, you got to give him multiple defensive looks. Jordan Younger, the Bomber defense coordinator, it's going to be up to you to make him hold that ball a little longer than he likes so you get some pressure on him and some sacks and some turnovers. Special teams, one word. Muzzle Mario. He hasn't broke one, but I'm just scared about that guy because he's one of those game breakers. And then on our side, Lucky seems to be getting stronger game by game. He almost broke one last week. Lucky could be the guy that turns the tide tomorrow.
Love it. Love it.
Love it, man.
I thought you were stealing my keys to the game because it was a week ago that I shared this on Twitter. 3 early keys for the Bombers. And I said, win the turnover battle versus the Riders' best in biz turnover ratio. Nobody takes the ball away more often than the Roughriders, and nobody fails to turn the ball over more than the Saskatchewan Roughriders, or I should say less than. Best turnover ratio in the CFL. Make Trevor Harris uncomfortable. He's been so efficient. The numbers don't knock you out of the, knock you off your chair, but he will pick you apart. And, add in 𝘎𝙥𝙬𝙧𝙯, who stated this week, Chris, that they didn't pay him to run the football in June, July, and August. They paid him to run in November, so he will be fired up to take on this dark side Blue Bombers defense. And then my third key, get Brady Oliveira going versus the CFL's #1 run defense. And by get Brady Oliveira going, I mean more than just the run game. Get him involved in the pass game. Get him involved in play action. Get him involved in, being a great distraction. He is the league's most outstanding player, in my opinion, and he is the most outstanding player in the West Division for a reason. Use him to his fullest potential, and that'll help Zach Collaros out a lot. I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think it's going to come down to the wire.
Game. I think
it's going to come right down to it.
Key number 4, fans. You know what? Hey, Waiters 27. Good point.
Yep.
Fans, bring the noise, brother. Yeah, make it difficult for those guys. I mean, they're trying to replicate it, but there's no way you can replicate the Bomber fans because all you're going to hear tomorrow, and that's another first down.
Yes. That's the voice of Bob McGregor. That's the job I always wanted growing up as a kid.
Yeah, he does a great job.
He does.
So what were you barking about? Oh, is it time to go? Oh, my God. He was barking because he says, Walls, it's time to go, Bluto. Let's go. We got places.
Look who it is. Our old friend, Davis Sanchez. What's up, Chezzy? Watching live on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram at BonfireWPG. Playoff time Enjoy, fellas. No doubt. Chezzy will be enjoying you.
He's all over the place, man. NFL, CFL. He does a great job.
Works
very
his tail off,
knowledgeable guy, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we got to do next year. We got next week too, but we got to start bringing some of these guys on, like Dunnigan and Sanchez and some of these other guys. And even
I try to, and they say I don't want to be on the air with Walby. I can't stand that guy.
Well, I don't blame you either. I mean, but I'll shower. I'll take a shower. All right, I won't be stinky too bad. All right,
I just want you to clean up that bonfire hat. That's what I want you to do.
Oh no, it has to look weathered, brother. If I put a brand new hat on, you're going to think I never wear it.
No,
so this is wear and tear, brother.
Oh, I want you to like hang it up on that 63 jersey behind you.
I want to apologize right now to all the veterans out there for my boneheaded mistake of not having my poppy on today. I apologize to all of you. I thank you for your service. And
I'm wearing it for you, Chris.
I got you. But I just want to say that. So, yeah. All right, guys, I got to go. I got things to do and songs to write. I'm going to be doing a special one next week, buddy.
Real quickly, be sure to check out my new hero, Memories of the Rink Rats. A Winnipegger wrote this book, Douglas Savage. Link in the video description below. You can find it on Amazon. And a great Christmas present to get that thought out of your mind early, as you start chipping away at the list. Be sure to join us right here on Bonfire Sports for Game Day After Dark, your live post-game show. Myself, 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙨. We might even have a special guest, but we'll have video highlights of the Western Final and tee you up for the 111th Grey Cup in Vancouver the following week. I will be there all week. Chris, you're going to join me remotely. And, I sure hope we got some Bombers storylines to talk about.
We sure will, buddy. And I'll just say this, too. It's a great day of football. The Argos and the Alouettes. And then after you've had a little taste of that East, you go to the West, man. It's the topping on the pie, the Bombers and the Sask Riders. Bombers going to come out on top. I'm telling you, let's go Bombers by 4. There you go.
There you go. Love it.
Yeah. I just
enjoy
went
the
like
game,
that
everybody.
And the only reason I went with 4 because that's all the beer I got left in my fridge.
James in the Peg says, thank you, boys. Thank you, James, and everybody out there. Chris, enjoy the game. Have fun.
Yeah.
Be safe, as always. Have some coldies for me, and we will see you back here on Bonfire after the game.
All right, brother. Always a pleasure, DB. You have fun at the game. We'll talk soon. Ka-chink.